welcome back to part 15 of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, where today, after chatting to this kid called Oates, we will be rendezvousing with Heiress and starting the side quest-athon that is in this chapter. Similar to chapter 3, there's going to be a series of side quests entirely focused on giving you one-to-one time between Cloud and Heiress, developing her character, and giving you a better idea of the world around. I'm going to say it outright, I prefer this over Tifa's. I think this chapter does a far better job at making its side quests interesting and making them evolve and develop the world than chapter 3 does with Tifa. And they're longer. So for the sake of, you know, being moderate with the video length, when I recorded all the side quests, I put them together in one file and it was something like 68 minutes long. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to suddenly just pump out an hour-long video, even if I could, just to do all the side quests. So I broke it up into 2 videos. We're going to do half of them today, half of them tomorrow. And the second half is longer than the first half. Like, the second half is like 40-something minutes. But it is what it is. It's just how I decide to handle it, and it should be a sign of what I mean. There's only 6 side quests here, in the exact same manner as there are only 6 in Tifa's one. They're just bigger, more dynamic, have more going on, and more slight plot things around it. As this kid gets stuck, because these people just stand here awkwardly. I don't remember the kid getting stuck on the PS4 version at all. On that group there. I don't know whether that was just a coincidental thing, or whether it's something to do with the PS5 engine. Something that is universal in all versions though, this gap here that we're squeezing through, sometimes the controls get locked slightly going on the corner. And I don't mean hard locked like you can't move. I mean as in you'll be holding forward and Cloud will just stop moving, and if you let go and push forward again, he'll start again. And it can happen on either direction. You'll actually see it happen several times during this recording, which is why I know it happens on the PS5 version as well, because it happens to me whilst doing this. But this rather large side quest-athon does thankfully start with at least one plot thing. These kids are talking about in their camp there's some strange dude in a hood that is wandering around with a number on him, which is why Cloud's here checking it out, because that rings true when we met someone back in chapter 3 who's staying in the room next to us as a very similar description. So it's worth checking out just in case it is the same person and we can try and help him out, since we did promise Tifa we would anyway. But these kids, their hideout is literally like rubbing up against the danger zone. Like, this is a very dangerous area to be in with enemies everywhere. Also, if you haven't guessed already, this little zone behind the kids' hideout is this chapter's equivalent of the scrapyard that you could go into in chapter 3. Like, you know, where you can, there's always fights in there if you enter it or leave and come back and whatnot. So if you want to do a little bit of grinding in the town, but you can't really leave to go anywhere else, well, you've at least got an option to fight stuff. Which is something I do appreciate, and it's also the last time the game really does this per se, because after this point the game keeps on moving forward, and even in the next side questy focused chapter, the map is a lot more open to you than it was in chapter 3 and is in this chapter, and so they don't need those kind of little zones anymore, so they don't bother. But that's not until a little later yet. I know I say this like every large Let's Play I do, but I'm kind of surprised how quickly we're going through this game. I was not expecting it to be part 15 and we were already here. When I plan out my Let's Plays, I always, and I do it deliberately to make it so I don't catch myself off guard in planning, I plan out what I think will be the maximum number of parts, not the minimum. Because if I plan out the maximum, then if things happen to get quicker and get shorter, it works out in my favour, sort of thing. Like, I'm not having to rush anything or put X and Y together or force my way to do something. I end up looking at it and go, oh, okay, that works out. I can just chuck these 2 together and it ends up being a part shorter in the grand scheme. The best example of that is Final Fantasy XII. That was planned to be 100 videos and it took literally half that. And that baffled me. And I know, like, plus it's the nature of when you expect the maximum and like plan around the maximum, it's always going to be like, oh, that's less. But it's just how much less is what always catches me off guard. Because I genuinely, especially with 12, like 12 will always be like the biggest example of it. I planned so much and was so far ahead, and I was like, this could be anywhere between 80 to 100 parts, so I'm going to say 100. And so if And so it was fine, sort of thing. And when I looked at what other people had done online as well with it, there are absolutely some Let's Plays that are over 100 parts, some even close to 200 parts on Final Fantasy XII. The difference is, though, is that a lot of those Let's Plays are back before YouTube allowed longer videos. Way back in the glory days of YouTube, so to speak, most videos, unless you like ticked very specific certain boxes in the industry or of like notoriety, could not be longer than like 13 minutes long. It was back when the old glitch of no matter how popular a video was, it would just say 301 views plus before they eventually fixed that, and now you can see the actual figure on how many views videos get. But during that time, videos could not be that long, and so people that wanted to do long Let's Plays on big projects had to accept that most of them were gonna be ridiculously high in part numbers. Like, and especially with Final Fantasy XII, I also want to keep in mind with that is that people that did the original version didn't have the speed up function. The Let's Play would have absolutely been far longer if double speed and quad speed weren't in the PS4 remaster. And I know they did the update to add back in some of the stuff that was exclusive to the Switch version, but that was after the Let's Play and it wasn't enough to justify doing another video to show it off. What I'm talking about is they added the ability for you to actually change your job for characters. You would go to, oh I forget his name, the Moogle that you talk to that has like the higher level hunts and bounties in 12. If you go talk to him, you can change your job. Which is pretty nice, to be fair, as I nearly get wrecked in this fight. This happens a lot in this chapter. As I mentioned in the last part, I was still trying to, because this was all recorded in one session, I was still trying to readjust back to the controls of VII Remake, you know, after playing the Neptunia Senran Kagura game for like a week. So there were some little things and a lot of like rookie mistakes you're going to see me make from time to time during this as I get back into the rhythm. But it gets better per part. I get more and more into my comfort zone again and remember where I was going and what I was working towards. I've also been distracting myself with other things though as well. Like I've been getting back into the Yakuza series because before Mary Skelter Final came out, I was working back through the series because quite some time ago I did Zero Kiwami and Kiwami 2 relatively close by. Whilst now I'm going through the rest of the series because I want to catch up.
Watch out! The ground's really shaky. It's because of the reactor. You can't trust your feet.
I'll go. Come on.
Whoa! Thank you. That was cool.
Okay, let's head back.
Right, now we've got to show off how much of a hero we are as a soldier. These two kids are going to start, like, really turning into kids who have met a superhero as we go on for it. And it's really charming, in my opinion, just to see these two go, yeah, and he's like a soldier, and he goes like, yeah, whoa, and the kid's like, no, it's more like, ha, yeah. And they start, like, discussing how cool Cloud is, and I'm like, we all did that. We all did that as a kid. The difference is we didn't usually do it with a real person. It was usually for, like, because we watched X-Men as a kid, and we watched Wolverine tear up some guys, and it was like, yeah, we want to be like Wolverine, and we start putting fucking pencils between our fingers. Yeah. Like, it's charming to see that stuff. One of the other things, along, you know, everything else, that I can compliment on the VII Remake is that it's one of the very few games where I don't hate the children in the game. And if you're sitting there watching it going, what the heck? What I mean is, in a lot of TV shows, films, and video games, I don't like how children are written. I find them way too high-pitched, way too annoying, and although, yeah, I get it, they're kids, they're always naive and innocent, sometimes too naive and too innocent for how kids actually are like at their age. Children are cheeky little fuckers, and more often than not know very well what they're doing and what their doing means. And in a lot of stuff, they don't lean on that. They just say, oh, kids are kids, they're just goofy little little things. And I just end up finding it really annoying, especially when it's the whole high-pitched thing as well. And like Final Fantasy VII, the remake even, doesn't fall into this pitfall. Like, the children characters in this aren't annoying. They don't make me want to, like, strangle them. I'm joking, I wouldn't go that far. But you know what I mean. Like, if you've watching this and you're literally talking about this, I can guarantee you at some point you've probably watched a show or watched a film or played a game or something, and the kids annoyed you, and you've just gone, oh, the kid's the weakest part of X piece of media. That's because of that thing. I just gave you the reason why. It's because of how they're written. They're not genuine, convincing kids half the time. Whilst in this game, they are. All the kids in this game are genuinely convincing little monsters. And so it makes them not detestable side characters as we bring them back to their secret hideout.
Come on! Tifa, wait! Tifa! Tifa!
Tifa.
Tifa? What's wrong?
Nothing.
Is Tifa like your girlfriend?
No.
But she's someone special.
It's not like that. More like... I don't know how to explain.
I see.
I really love how the remake approaches Cloud and Tifa's like childhood friendship, that they're childhood buddies that have lasted the test of time in this, because in the original they didn't start until after they left Midgar really showing anything between Cloud and Tifa growing up. But that's a huge piece without spoiling anything. I know the original game came out in '97, and if you haven't played it, what are you doing? But I still don't want to spoil it for like the two of you that haven't played it. The original 7, the relationship between Cloud and Tifa is radically important to a lot of plot elements later in the story, and so introducing it felt like a necessity in the remake if it wasn't going to cover the bit it's originally introduced in 7. And I feel like the way they do it is really smart, because there's enough there to kind of show its significance, but not going into the detail that what comes next does, so it still has significance when we get to it in part 2.
Don't worry, it'll be okay.
Wait! Not him. It looks pretty damn similar.
There's the number, but why 2?
Who knows? Come to think.
The reunion. Is nothing to
Cloud, get it together. Come on.
You don't know who Sephiroth is, do you?
Sephiroth, the war hero? I know he died in an accident 5 years ago. They said so on the news.
Maybe they did. But I've got a feeling he's still alive.
Oh, right. Come on, let's go.
Well, that was weird, Heiress. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you knew something. Oh well, we can't really discuss on it any further. But that's it for plot significance in this chapter right now. The next plot thing is returning to Heiress' home, or at least trying to. We're not going to be doing that. For the rest of this video, and for the whole of the next video, we're going to be sidetracking for side quests. After talking to Oates here, where he thanks us one more time, and basically says, hey look, you're one of us now, so you can come into this hideout whenever you want. And you also might notice that Moogle kid just appeared out of nowhere behind us when we started this conversation. That's a part of a side quest, and it's a side quest that if you aren't in a position to complete right now, I don't know what to tell you. You either weren't paying attention, or you're the unluckiest soul on the planet. Every time you break a box, there's a chance you'll get a Moogle Medal. You spend the Moogle Medals here at this Moogle shop that this kid's going to introduce us to. To do the side quest, you only need to spend 1 coin. If you've got all the way here and you don't have a single coin, I don't know what to tell you, dude. I don't know how fate decided to screw you that hard. Just go in and out of like the fighting area behind the hideout and destroy the boxes until you get one. Because holy hell, dude, how did you not? Alternatively, you, now the side quests are available, have access to run the stretch all the way back. I don't know if you can go all the way back to the church, but most of the way back to the church if you so choose. Meaning, there's a lot more boxes you can break. Break the fucking boxes. You should always be buying it, but this is the one coin you have to spend. The membership card. You buy this, you've done the side quest. It will tick the box on the side quest, you've done it, and it will count towards one of the 6 for this bit. The way the side quest significance works in this chapter is different to how it works in chapter 3. In chapter 3, you do all 6, and then you're given a choice by Tifa for something that matters later. The side quests here connect to the same matters later choice in quotation marks. But instead of it being like with Tifa, where after you've done all 6, you talk to Tifa and she says, hey, what do you think I should dress up as? And she gives you the 3 options. With Heiress, it isn't an option per se, but there's a choice that needs to be made. And as I mentioned before, there is a trophy for witnessing every single result of all the possible choices. Meaning you're going to be doing the whole of this chapter 3 times to get the results you need, which is kind of annoying because it means it starts at the church. You have to fight Reno a bunch of times if you want this one trophy. But the way it works is that if you do less than half of the side quests, so 0, 1 or 2 of them, you will get the worst outcome of the event that this ties to. And like I said, it's the same events that the Tifa side quest tie to. I'm trying to be vague because I don't want to ruin the surprise, but that's the only way to put it, and I will still want to warn you how it works so you know what to prepare for. If you do half or more, but not all of them, so either 3, 4 or 5 of them, you will get the next thing instead of the original, and you won't get berated for your trouble. It will just be treated as a neutral, oh okay, you did alright. If you do all the side quests, you get the best outcome. It's like a really nice scenery, it's very charming when you get to that moment, and you do the best, you get the best results. But anyway, from this kid, I buy a handful of things. I buy the Gold Saucer theme, I buy a new weapon, and I buy 2 Arts of Combat books. The Arts of Combat books don't matter so much in this playthrough, become your bread and butter in hard mode. Upgrading weapons requires points to do so. You can only get so many points by going through the game. In fact, when you go through the game and level up, you will hit a level cap eventually, and that level cap will mean your upgrades you can't go any further with upgrading your weapons. Your weapons hit a hard limit because you can't get any more upgrade points. The Arts of Combat books give you upgrade points, but there's only one of each kind of thing. So like from the kid, you can buy book 1 for each character, but you can't buy several of book 1 if that makes sense. But later on you can get book 2, you can get book 3. In hard mode, your reward for clearing each boss and for clearing certain side quests are more art books, or books of combat, arts of combat, yada yada. So in hard mode, even though you're the level cap, you still get stronger as you go through it because you get the books to spend upgrade points on your weapons. And in fact, I haven't actually got every single book for every character because one of the art books requires you going a different direction on a quest line. And because I did the whole trophy of having to do some of the chapters several times, after I finished my hard mode playthrough, I kind of threw in the towel around then. It's why I don't have the platinum for this game on either PS4 or 5. Because when you carry over your save, you thankfully carry over your trophies. The only trophies I'm missing, as I keep saying, is the enemy skill and clearing the ultimate super boss. And I just genuinely have no interest in doing them. I don't mind passing on the platinum for them. One day I'll probably go back and do it, probably before part 2 comes out. Like when part 2's announced and it's like getting close to it, I'll probably do the VII Remake part 1 again just to like refresh myself. And maybe then I'll go for those 2 trophies. But then who knows where I'll be when that happens, because that could be years yet, and who knows how much my life will change by the time that happens. I mean, I'm 22 now. Life changes every day. But now we're very much in the side quest-a-thon. Talking to that Moogle kid and doing it does do one of the side quests. The moment you buy that membership card, you are 1 side quest down. So if you are going for all of the different results to get that trophy, be wary that that one counts. Like, if you're trying to do a couple just to get some items or experience, understand that that one does count, so you can only do one more. If you do another one on top of it, you will not get that first result. You'll be on the second result. I want to get what is, in my opinion, the best possible result for all what's going to be 3 scenarios. But the last one is a little bit of a loose chance, because even though I know, because I've read all the Ultimanium, I've read all the interviews and whatnot, I know how it technically works, there's still a loose doubt of unsurety with it every time I do it. So I will try to get the 3rd piece of this 3-piece puzzle, because we've done Tifa's piece, we're doing Heiress' piece, there's one more piece in it we've got to do later on, which I'll get to when we get to it. But it's a lot more like who you happen to talk with, how you happen to do X, Y, and Z, if you fall for this trick or not. Like, it's a lot more subtle things. And so, we'll see. Like, I'm going for it, and if I get it, brilliant. But if I don't, I won't lose sleep over it, and I'll just explain what I did and how I ended up with it. But you're going to see some transitions now, because a lot of these side quests require you to kind of run out of your way. But I started my cutback there because from the kid we also brought the graveyard key, which we can open up to access that area now. There's going to be a side quest linked to that area later, so make sure that you get the Moogle coins to buy it. If you've brought other stuff because the books of arts were more valuable, don't panic. You've got this entire stretch that you can run up and down the break boxes to get the coins to get it. You're not shit out of luck of being able to do all the side quests if you don't have enough coins to buy the key right now. I will stress, however, and it was the same in chapter 3, and it's the same in every chapter that has side quests. The side quests are chapter locked. Once you leave this chapter, even if you come back, you can't do these quests. So you need to do them all now. It's just how the game works, where it's a lot more linear of a fashion, and has factors around it alter depending on how you handle these side quests. If they allowed you to go back and do them, it would mess with some of the end results of certain events and certain features. Because like I said, there are a lot of subtleties, not just this big main thing we're working towards that I keep talking about. There are other subtleties that will be affected and changed throughout the course of the game, going all the way to literally the very end. So if they suddenly made it so you could go back and alter things later, it would mess with that. Speaking of messing with, these enemies suck. These enemies will alternate between making themselves immune to physical attacks and making themselves immune to magic. So you need to alternate with them. You have to learn what effect around them means what. The problem is that sometimes their coding seems to be a little bit quick for them, and they will put on their magic immunity or their physical immunity whilst the other still stands. Which is what's kind of happening with this guy here, where he's completely immune to magic right now, I believe. But the physical resistance, I say he's not immune to physical attacks. If they put on the physical wall, they just take far less damage from physical attacks. This fucker has both on. Right, there goes the physical, so now it's just... Oh no, there goes the magic, sorry. So now it's just physical, so now it's magic that needs to do the work. But these guys are annoying because of it. Like, they will constantly alternate between physical and magic. Sometimes you get lucky and like both of them drop and you get a chance to just rip havoc. But for the most part, you won't be so fortunate, and you have to just accept that these guys are annoying. And whilst I'm still trying to adjust to the gameplay differences, I'm like coming back from playing a different action game for a week, they're even more annoying. It's even more noticeable. But they're not the only enemies here tied to this side quest. There's 2 groups. Just look on your map and look at where dead ends are. So head towards the other dead end, really, of this area. And the circle zone is accurate. Anytime they do it, it's in this zone. Always look to the very edge of the circles, because they are accurate. It will never be like just outside the circle or anything like that. No, they are always honest enough like that. Which is appreciated, because there are some games that are too vague for their own good, and they end up making some of the side quests more annoying. But thankfully, this game doesn't do that. There's never a point in this game where I find a side quest like annoying to find a solution to when you work on it because of information not being as detailed as it should be. You always feel like you have enough info to work it out, even on the ones that are supposed to be looser. The only side quest where you might get stuck and not realize what to do comes in, I believe it's chapter 14. And that's because part of the side quest is actually part way through the plot segment. And so when you're trying to do all the side quests, you'll leave the plot section till last. And then you'll be like, well, why can't I finish this side quest? Where am I supposed to go? Then eventually you might either just say, you know what, fuck it, I'll do the plot section and hopefully I'll work it out as I go. Or you'll look it up and then realize, no, it's actually in the plot area. And so you have to do it in the plot. But that's not till, like, you know, so chapter 14, that's not till way later. And if you've been watching this and been going, oh, but that won't be too far later, Rob was just talking about how quickly he's going through this. We're approaching one of the longest chapters in the game. The next chapter after this is one of the 2 chapters that I adamantly feel should have been split in half. Because it's way too long for its own good. Especially going for that fucking trophy I keep on going on about. The trophy comes in of seeing every single condition surrounding the characters of what you do with Tifa in chapter 3, what you do with Aerith in this chapter, and what you do during that chapter. The chapter is way too long for you to have to do it 3 fucking times just to get the trophy. It should have been split in half, and I will specify where the split point should have been. Because it's not actually too far into it, it just would have made that chapter more bearable, even though it's so, like, it'd only be cutting off like the first 45 minutes to an hour. It still would have made it feel less of a grind going back to it. And it's one of 2 chapters that I feel should have been split in half. And if they had done it, it would have brought the chapter total to around 20 instead of the 18 that we've got, which is another reason. I would say because of my OCD, but I'm not really an OCD person. It's just a bit of uniformity, that's all. I think they could have done it, you know. I think they could have made it 20 chapters.
Remember, you can count on Cloud.
But then I can imagine, similar to, like, because as I mentioned every now and then, I write in my spare time. I imagine it's similar to when I'm, like, planning with writing. I plan out what's going to be in a chapter, and then I write it later. And so sometimes chapter length does vary, because what I put in it when I'm planning, I don't expect to be as long as it actually ends up being. And I can imagine in game design, when you're plotting out chapters or levels and whatnot, similar ideas in storyboarding come around. And so you get things like that, where it's some levels and some chapters end up being gargantuan when you didn't mean to be, whilst others end up being far shorter when that wasn't the intention. Oh, this side quest, we start it now, but because it was still tied to this piece of the recording, I end it not doing it. We're going to start the next video literally starting off with it. This old man needs access to that graveyard that we just opened up, because he wants to visit his deceased friends, or deceased partner, I believe it is. But he can't because there's enemies there, so we're going to go clear it out. But that's what we'll be doing next time. And also next time, we'll be hopefully getting Sorcerer's Storm for Aerith maxed out, so we can, like, not worry about getting her other weapons. And we'll also be getting a new weapon for Cloud. There is a new weapon up for grabs by doing the side quests, and it's not fucking worth it. It's a goddamn piece of shit weapon, but it's good enough to justify getting. But regardless, I'll see you guys next time. So until then, take care now. Peace.